Welcome to the Underground, the Steel City Underground, a Pittsburgh Steelers podcast made by fans like you, for fans like you. Now, here's your host, Joe Kuzma.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Steel City Underground podcast. I'm your host, Joe Kuzma. Joining me today has been the host for the last few episodes, our couple, or few's like three, couple's like two, right, Brian?
A couple is two.
Yeah, you know what? It's my mother's mostly Yinzer, maybe like 60% Yinzer, and she says things like warsh and yins, and so I don't think those words actually have any type of numerical value in the Yinzer vocabulary, but so
that's our next book, right? The Yinzer vocabulary.
Yinzer vocabulary, yes. We're going to talk about the book. Well, might as well talk about it now. We'll put it out there. Me and Brian spent some time and came up with the Steelers War Room. It's an inside look at the Pittsburgh Steelers' plans for the upcoming 2017 NFL Draft, and it's available right now on Amazon's store for Kindle, whether you have a Kindle yourself, a Kindle Fire, or using the Kindle app like on another device such as the iPad or iPhone, which were also available on the Apple iBooks store or bookstore or iBook store. Everything is I. Like, I almost wanted to make this the Steelers I War Room. So, and we're headed to Barnes & Noble as soon as they stop screwing around with the whole process of getting this thing verified. So it'll be up there for those of you stuck with a Nook, but if not, and you could always download the Kindle app. You can even use it on a PC or a Mac. So pretty much accessible anywhere. We're asking $3.99 for what is I don't know. It's like maybe 200 pages or so in the real world. If this were a actual printed item, but me and Brian spent countless hours detailing all of the NFL draft prospects, and we just didn't waste. We don't want to waste anyone's time reading this. We're not going to. Even though we do have some prospects in there that we don't think necessarily, like Myles Garrett, for example, we think he's going to go number one overall in the draft, but we still talk about him anyways, just hypothetical. But there are some players, we didn't go out and do like 300-400 players or whatever, but we do have over 170 profiles with stats, combine information, measurables, and then some detailed analysis on 9 different positions that the Steelers, whether or not it's a priority, whether or not this player will be available in this round. It's a pretty in-depth piece. If you guys want to check it out, we have the links up on steelcityunderground.com / that's the one that leans forward. I always get those confused. /shop, or just click on the shop link, however you view the website.
Yeah, I think it'll provide a lot of information, and as you said, we really focused on the Steelers' needs because, our target is Steelers fans, of course, and it gives a lot of information on picks that they may be excited about, picks that they may not even know about, all of whom may have potential landing spots at some point in the draft for the Steelers.
Yeah, and that's one order of business I wanted to say with Brian. Now, Brian has been running around like a nut here doing video podcasts. We had our first 2 ever earlier this week. So, as you could tell, Brian can talk quite a bit by himself, just like I can. So, hopefully when we get together and do these as a pair, we're not going to be here for like an hour and a half discussing football, but we can. I know someone's going to ask, so I'm just going to throw it out there. I'd love to be on video. I'm not as ugly as Brian is. I think I'm a little more beautiful or a little more handsome. But you know what? Brian has this like crazy, like amazing office you could see in his setup there. That's just all this Steelers stuff. You guys don't want to know where I record. It looks like a dungeon, and I have like a little tyrant of a 3-year-old that runs around and cats. And so unless you want to see a cat jump up on my desk in front of me or something like that, I may attempt it. And of course, we've got to figure out some technical wrinkles too, like if we do this both together. But I don't know, man.
Yeah.
I don't know that I want my mug out there. I've considered it. People have asked, why don't don't you do this? Why don't you do Periscope? I did a couple Periscopes last year, but you know what? It's one of those to be determined type things. So I'd like to thank Brian for putting his beautiful face out there. And Brian, why don't you? We're wrapping up here, but as far as the March of Dimes contest, but go ahead and tell everyone about it still. And if you're still collecting donations, 'cause I'm sure they take them year round, right?
Oh, absolutely. They take them year round. No question about it. I mean, this period of time, the springtime right before they do the walk, is their primary fundraising efforts. But they're happy to take donations year round. And, again, from our standpoint, what we're doing is we're trying to raise the awareness for the charity itself, which is really there to help kids, especially babies, and to help eliminate prematurity. And so if you donate $1, you get entered into a drawing to win a Rocky Bleier autographed full-size replica helmet that's been inscribed with 4-time Super Bowl champion, or I think Super Bowl 1, 2, or whatever the numbers were, 10, 9, 10, 12, 70. I don't remember what the numbers are. And every dollar you donate, you get an extra chance to win. If we get up to the point of, having enough donations, we might throw a couple more prizes in there, but the grand prize will still be this Rocky Bleier helmet, which is really nice. I got one donation from a gentleman the other day who is a war veteran, went to Vietnam, and he popped a donation on there. He's very excited about the concept. So we'll see. We've gotten some good feedback, and it runs until April 30th.
Yeah, so we have quite a bit of time because I always think of like March of Dimes as March, but it will be running here throughout the next month. So we'll be talking about that here and there, not to just do the 10 minutes of promo segments to start out the show, but, probably about more like 7 minutes. But you know what? We have exciting things going on here at Steel City Underground. One of them is it's going to be April Fool's Day, April Fool's weekend. So this is the April Fool's edition of the podcast. This might be crazier than any WTF, Joe's pet peeves, anything we've done before, because we got a few pranks we're going to be playing on Steelers Nation come Saturday. And just talking a little bit in advance of that, we were brainstorming some ideas, some articles. We're going to be very Onion-like, or I don't know what's the term, and I hate bringing politics into the show, but you know what? The buzzwords, man. It's alternative news or alternative facts and fake news. We're going to have plenty of those, too. So
absolutely.
So talking about some of that, I wanted to have Eric Herman on. It's HERRMANN. I love saying that. It just reminds me of pro wrestling. There used to be a guy that was Jeff Jarrett, and he used to say his name like that. It's JARRETT, and Jeff has 2 F's in it, too, so it's JEFF, JARRETT. Eric needs like ERRIC or something for his middle name. But Eric has a tremendous one out there, and it's almost like a little sneak preview since we're saying this a day in advance. But you know what? Those of you guys and gals who listen to the show and then visit the website, which we appreciate you doing both, you'll be in on the joke. You won't have quite the heart attack that some of these other suckers are going to have coming up here when they see that we publish an article that says, which one should I go with first? The Steelers should explore trading Mike Tomlin.
Absolutely.
But Eric reasons. He has logic even in this article. He says there's a precedence for this based on John Gruden going from the Raiders to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and he's right.
Yes.
So they got a whole ton of draft picks out of that deal. And then on top of that, the Cleveland Browns apparently were interested in trying to get Jim Harbaugh from the San Francisco 49ers a few years ago. And we've seen this happen in other sports too. What was it? Doc Rivers he got traded from the Boston Celtics to the LA Clippers. So that so much as trading a coach isn't as far-fetched, but Eric's reasoning is basically, hey, he only won with Bill Cowher's team, and he truly doesn't believe that, by the way, nor do any of us. And you know what? Tomlin's already had his shot. He hasn't won enough Super Bowls, so it's time to get somebody in here before Ben Roethlisberger's time is up and get somebody who can actually win. What do you think about that, Brian?
Well, I'll tell you, first of all, this is going to in much the same way that the recent hot take by our boy Zach inspired people, this would inspire all the Tomlin haters. I think we will get quite a few who are really behind this idea. And hey, you know what? What's a coach really worth? If you are going to trade him, let's say, to the Browns, I don't think the Browns are taking right now. I think they like Hugh Jackson, but let's say they are takers. Okay, the Browns have a gazillion draft picks, a gazillion of them. What do we get for him?
Let me see. You know what? Eric actually answers this, and he said, assuming the Steelers get a deal similar to the Gruden deal, it would give them a plethora, a big word there, of draft picks to stock the roster with talent. He says Steelers would have 2 first-round picks and 2 second-round picks in both 2017 and 2018. And so having 4 picks in the top 2 rounds in both years, he's just saying you could load up on your pass rushers, your corners, and with all of these draft needs addressed early, you could even go out and get a quarterback because you just have so many picks now that you got rid of Tomlin. So this is the best caveat of this. So Mike Tomlin is gone. Let's say theoretically they trade him to, I don't know, Buffalo, for example. Buffalo is a team that could probably use somebody like a Mike Tomlin. And
sure.
they get all of these draft picks. Someone's getting a promotion internally to replace Mike Tomlin. So,
and who's that going to be?
Oh, careful what you wish for. You were saying this might inspire some people. I think they would go nuts. This would be the case of where people are always talking about fire Mike Tomlin because of just dumb things. He loses on the road or whatever be the case, right? Mm-hmm. Can you imagine what's the word I want to say outrage, but it might be a stronger word than outrage. Like I can see people rioting in the streets. If you thought that they were maybe half tongue in cheek saying fire Tomlin because they lose to like the Dolphins or somebody on the road like they did last year, imagine if Todd Haley gets promoted from offensive coordinator to head coach because you traded
right.
Mike Tomlin. But hey,
there you go. That's the caveat. You're right. That's the caveat, right? If you're going to trade Tomlin, you're not trading him for a coach. You're trading him for picks. And if you're trading him for picks, who's your new coach? Well, welcome head coach Todd Haley. And, hey, it's either that or Munchak. I mean, we do have some guys on staff who've had head coaching experience. But I would assume that Haley would get the nod.
I think so. I think you know what? The Munchak thing's interesting because that was another one that came to mind, and I said, Munch would be somebody that would be an interesting choice there. I don't know. Todd Haley's got it kind of cushy as the OC. Does he really want to go be on the hot? He's on the hot seat. Never mind.
I was going to say, how many fire Haleys have we had to see before we realize he's not? He has no cushy job. Munchak, on the other hand. People, all they got to do is say good things about Munch. I mean, and for rightfully so, the offensive line is dramatically improved. So, I guess if the Steelers really wanted to trade Mike Tomlin and promote Mike Munchak, and then, if Haley really wanted to just stay in OC, here's the other caveat that goes along with it. We get all these picks. What are we going to do with all the players?
Well, you have this 3 to 4. This is like the all-in window. I think Eric actually covers this, or at least I could fill in some blanks of which he's assuming this is how much longer Ben might be around because, everyone's already throwing dirt on his grave. And actually, that'll be something we're going to talk about here in a moment. But I think we talk about that all the time now. It's become the new Brandon Boykin segment. So,
yes.
I forgot your original question now.
What are they going to do if they get all those picks, right? You've got 2 in the first, 2 in the second. So you've got 4 players who are top-tier players. Right now, we know we have need at edge. We can assume we have need at corner. Well, if I fill both those needs in the first round, what am I doing with my second-round guys? Oh. And even if I fill depth in that round, what am I doing next year when I have picks again?
He answers this. He says he wants a vertical threat tight end and a true wide receiver too. And you know what? I'm going to just assume, and like I said, filling in the blanks here, if the edge guy doesn't work out, the corner guy doesn't work out, one of the receiver or tight end doesn't work, then you just draft another guy. So, hey, you know what? You could go get a linebacker too. You know what? Just draft a whole new secondary. Why not? You know, I mean, you have enough picks. Go for. I mean, the Browns drafted like 6 wide receivers in the draft last year. I mean, why not? Just keep doing it until you get it right. They're like, one of these guys has got to work. They're bringing up the card again. They're like, hey, you know what? Did you misprint this? Is this another wide receiver? Nope, this is the guy we want. It was like they looked and saw what was on their draft board, and apparently their draft board was only wide receivers after a certain point last season. So, but moving on, that was what a topic. I tell you, April Fool's is going to be really fun. I had a lot of fun doing this one. Let me give you a little snippet of how this starts. So, as many of you know, there is an NFL franchise that tries to closely emulate what the Pittsburgh Steelers do. They just so happen to be out west, and they happen to be nicknamed Steelers West. And they're always picking up former Steelers coaches and or players or front office, you name it. If it's the ball boy and he had a cup of coffee with the Steelers, come on down to the Arizona Cardinals. We will welcome you right in. Well, just based hot off the news of the Oakland Raiders now going to Las Vegas, I am pitching that Jarvis Jones isn't the only former Steeler moving to the desert. In an unprecedented move, the league's owners have voted for another relocation. The Pittsburgh football franchise will become what Cardinals fans have always wanted, the Arizona Cardinals. I back this one up a little bit here with just the basis of the same stuff. The fans have been calling for firing Mike Tomlin, firing Todd Haley, firing Keith Butler. Let's replace Ben Roethlisberger. We need the next guy, even though he's still, got plenty of tread left on the tires. You know what? Le'Veon Bell, Martavis Bryant, they're always getting in trouble. Why did you give Bell a franchise tag for all this money? OMG. We signed Antonio Brown to this big long-term deal. He's like 29 years old or whatever he's going to be. He's such an old man and such a terrible wide receiver, and they're giving him all this money. So, and how dare he do a Facebook video in the locker room? Just get rid of all the problems. Arizona, you could officially be the Steelers, not just Steelers West anymore. Just become the Steelers.
So it's the Arizona Steelers, and they're going to take all our players. I just want to make sure I understand what is going on here. The Steelers will move to Arizona and become the Arizona Steelers, but there will still be a team in Pittsburgh, but it will no longer be the Steelers.
That's correct. It's going to be like the Raiders just go and move, or like the Oilers moved from Houston to Tennessee, and they took all that. They took the records with them, and then Houston got like the Texans. So I didn't have an official comment from the league office in this article. And I just lost the article, of course. Here we go. I'm going to pull it back up. So I have some fake quotes in here, too. Like, Antonio Brown was the most surprised by the fans' positive reaction to the Arizona relocation. And, quote, it was just a Facebook Live video. but former Cardinals quarterback Kurt Warner and Hall of Fame inductee here, he says, I can't say I'm surprised. The Cardinals were acquiring former Steelers players and coaches for years. I guess if you can't beat them, join them. So, but I'll have you know too. There's another quote in here just like the Vegas Raiders deal, there was one team that abstained. In that case with the Raiders, it was the Miami Dolphins, and their owner said something about he was shaming these other owners for asking for public funds for a stadium. And in this case too, the Tennessee Titans also dissented with their vote. They're the only one that were against this because they said, that was our idea because they had Dick LeBeau, Mike Mularkey. They used to have Wisenhunt, Sean Spence, Valentino Blake, Al Woods. And there might be somebody else in there too. But, they were becoming like Steelers South. They tried to make a move at Troy Polamalu before he retired too.
That's true, yeah. So maybe what we do is we split into two. Half the team goes to Arizona. Half the team goes to Tennessee. We call one team the Arizona Steelers. There used to be two teams with the same name. Haven't there been? I thought as long as they're in different conferences, it's okay. So we'll have the Arizona Steelers. They'll be in the NFC. and we'll have the Tennessee Steelers, who will be in the AFC. And in Pittsburgh, we will have the pomegranates,
The pineapples.
the Pittsburgh pineapples.
Because pineapple on pizza is not evil, as some others may say. I can't remember which camp you were in, Team Pineapple
Evil.
or
It's evil.
Bacon on pizza.
I'm good with that.
All right. Well, I half like you. So, oh man, yeah, the pineapple on pizza thing has caught fire over with the whole staff. We're like split evenly. We're about to have one of these epic Braveheart battles with people on each side for or against pineapple as a topping on pizza. And then Christina, who comes out of like nowhere with this like just crazy description of how pizza truly isn't an authentic Italian dish, so it cannot just be relegated to only authentic Italian toppings. And I'm just like, okay, wow, yeah. we went like way out in the left field, just kind of roaming with our back to the ball. So
yeah, exactly.
But the best part about the move, so the Pittsburgh Steelers go out to Arizona. They'll be the Arizona Steelers. The Steelers get like some type of new franchise. I didn't have all that figured out, but I did have one thing. The team did announce, because the Arizona Cardinals would dissolve essentially, that they would so everybody, the staff and the players, would be available to everyone else in the league, or blah 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 blah. I don't want to overthink this. This really is an April Fool's joke, folks. The Steelers, or not the Steelers, the new Pittsburgh football franchise, yet to be named, maybe the Pineapples, they had announced that Bruce Arians would be their head coach. So going to make some of the Yinzers happy. In fact, both of these things might. They'll trade Mike Tomlin and then relocate to Arizona, and everything will be great.
Absolutely. They'll be thrilled.
And the Arizona fan base will be thrilled to have Todd Haley back, since he was the OC there. So, it works out for everyone.
It's great.
Maybe these aren't the worst ideas ever. I know this is all in jest, but there are some that we decided against. There were some brainstorm ideas. So this is a little bit of bonus content you're not going to see on the website. You're going to only hear it here. But I had suggested that maybe the fire alarm gate would cause a forfeiture of the AFC Championship. I think the trophy's the Lamar Hunt Trophy, maybe. And the Vince Lombardi Trophy, which of course is awarded to the Super Bowl champions. New England, once again, they're getting their hands slapped. So the NFL has decided to award the game to the Steelers, and they will replay the Super Bowl now to begin the season. So the Falcons get another chance too. Falcons and Steelers. This is going to be a huge TV ratings getter. Just a rematch. They're going to replay the Super Bowl. So
absolutely. Instead of the Hall of Fame game, it won't be in the Hall of Fame game stadium, or maybe it will be. But instead of the Hall of Fame game to begin the season, we will actually have the Super Bowl replay. The Patriots will be out, the Steelers will be in, and before the season ever begins, we'll be pulling in our seventh.
It's almost like NASCAR has Daytona at the beginning of the year. So, not too bad of an idea, if I would say so myself. It just seemed a little out there, although it's not. Alan Faneca says that stuff used to happen all the time when they would play there, when he was with the Jets. So
yeah.
Here's another one that might not be too far out there, and he's probably not listening, but I would hope he would find it funny. But I almost thought that maybe he wouldn't. He would curse me on social media and block me, since he's very active. But D'Angelo Williams becomes a great-grandfather.
Yes, that...
I think I'm older than D'Angelo by a year or so.
I know I am.
And you don't have any grandchildren either, do you?
No, I've got the one daughter, and if I had grandchildren, I would be very concerned.
So there's a surprise. Maybe that's an April Fool's joke.
Yeah.
But hey, I'm not saying that D'Angelo would become a grandfather. I'm saying he'd become a great-grandfather. So that means his grandkids have kids. And I could see maybe somebody like Chris Boswell taking off with this one.
Yes.
And just playing off his age. I mean, it was D'Angelo's birthday all the time last year. I kind of lost count of how old he is now. He's like, by Boswell's count, like 63 or something. He could be like the oldest guy to play in the NFL if he were to come back this year. So... Speaking of which, April Fools or not, you think he's coming back, Brian? I think we talked about this, but I think so. Maybe.
I think it will depend on the draft. What I believe is going to happen is that in the third round, specifically, I think they're going to look for a running back. And if they find one that they like at either 30 or 41, then I think D'Angelo's time with the Steelers is done. And if there for some reason was a run on the running backs and whoever they had originally targeted there is not available, then I think they might call up D'Angelo and say, hey, you got another couple years in you? Let's give it a go. My gut is they really want to get younger at the backup running back position because even though D'Angelo's been great, when you are however old he is, 30, 34, 36,
going to be 34.
Okay, 34. Regardless of the fact that he may not have had as much mileage as many other running backs, he has lasted a lot longer than most. And, last year he missed games due to injury. He missed games due to injury the year prior. I think the Steelers really are looking at this like, if we lose Le'Veon, we need somebody who is not going to take us out there and end up bringing us to our third string running back. So I think they really want to get younger there. And they could in the draft, but I think that's the dependent factor. If they find the guy they want in the draft, I don't think they call D'Angelo.
Agreed. Totally agreed. And speaking of age and a guy that didn't have much tread and probably lasted longer than he would, we had another idea, and I'll let you float this one by because I know you were, what was it, the Tough Mudder or the Warrior Dash thing?
I've done both. I've done Tough Mudders. I did a Tough Mudder in Houston when it was 100 degrees and I thought I was going to die. And I've done Warrior Dashes in a couple different places. But yes, the next one, which I completely believe this is viable and could happen. James Debo Harrison competes in the strongman competition on ESPN over there in Scotland or wherever they hold this thing with all those people with names like Fergus and Magnus, and they lift up giant rocks and throw tree stumps at each other or tree trunks, whatever the heck it is that they do. I used to watch that thing all the time on ESPN. And he wins.
And he wins because that almost looks like his workouts. Like he's insane, and I could totally see that. This one was one that was almost too plausible to even put out there because some people may actually ignore it and thought it was real. We get a lot of headline readers, especially, when you're working with this stuff with social media and website stuff. I get a lot of comments where I could tell, and I try not to call anybody out on it, but we know that you did not read what we took the time and wrote because based on your comment, you would not be making the reply that you are had you read what we wrote. So
I think we should just title every article we write from now on, please read the article.
Which would be greatly appreciated. It's how we make the small pittance that we do doing what we do. And which is, once again, a plug for, hey, support us and go get the draft book, The Steelers War Room. But, James, I'm like, if I put James Harrison to compete in strongman competition, somebody will read the headline and either a competitor of ours or you never know. This has happened with national news outlets. In fact, something like this, I think, happened to Aditi Kikawala, and I can't remember what it was. It was like one of those things where it was like totally misreported. Heck, it's happened to me too. So, I mean, it's embarrassing no matter what, where you get the wrong information from somebody else or you glean something, you catch it wrong, you read it wrong. Guaranteed this thing would probably, you know what? I'm going to publish this maybe, just real short, because you know what? This thing's going to get like a mind of its own, and Harrison has 2 years left on his deal. Maybe he plays one, maybe he plays both. He's going to be like 40-something in his early 40s, and then he's going to go out and do one of these things, and he's going to be throwing like a giant boulder to Hans, whoever's in this competition. Yeah. So,
Fergus.
Geez, man, they have like the craziest name. It's just like all of these Scandinavians, I want to say, or like the Eastern European types. Like these guys are chiseled. They look like Lego people, except way bigger. So yeah. Here's another one that's like kind of almost like with your current events type deal. Ben actually announces his retirement. Landry Jones is to take over. And I could see minds exploding already, especially my buddy Simon. I had to mention Landry Jones just to get under Simon's skin again. So, man. But I don't know. Tomlin and company were, I guess, at the Miami Pro Day it was, and they were supposedly, Simon's trying to say we're taking a look at Brad Kaya, and I'm just like, lots of mumbling going on right there because I don't know. I don't see it. If you check out the book, you'll understand why. But we'll talk about that some more as we really dive into this. We have a month to talk about it still.
Yeah. So I'm not going to say anything. I'm going to avoid the quarterback rant that is bubbling under my lips.
Oh, that's great, because that might take us another hour to cover. So you know what? Let's just jump over to Le'Veon Bell's a rapper now. He's got his album out. I thought another good April Fool's type of situation would be not to be outdone, insert Steelers name, puts out whatever music album. And I was thinking country music, just to be like the antithesis of rap music or hip hop. But me and you went back and forth, and you had some real zingers. In fact, you went through every genre, I think.
I did. I think Jordan Berry releases, tales from the or songs from the Outback. That sounds like a country album to me. Jordan Berry's songs from the Outback. I rode my kangaroo too hard. Whatever songs you make up in the Australian Outback, I have no idea.
Is he in the Aussie, or is?
Yeah, I think he is. I'm pretty sure he is.
I got confused because I think Brad Wing was from like New Zealand or something too. It's like they get all of these Australian rules or Gaelic football guys to kick the football in the NFL and be the punters, because that's like, unless it's Marquette King. I don't think Marquette King's from Australia, but he is entertaining.
No, I don't think he is. Yeah, he's entertaining.
Pat McAfee, but he's retired.
Pat McAfee. We miss you, Pat McAfee, already, and you've only been gone a year, and not even that. And then we got Anthony Chickalo. Now, Anthony Chickalo doesn't have the locks he had at one point, but I can see Anthony Chickalo, doing death metal, right? He releases death metal songs, Steel. Anthony Chickalo does Steel, and screaming and hollering. That seemed like a nice potential follow-up. But my favorite, because I'm going to skip the one about Artie. Artie and Sean, fine, we'll do it. Artie and Sean form a boy band and do a pop album, Boys of the Berg.
That might work. They got the baby. Wasn't like Artie Burns like one of the sexiest, or voted one of the sexiest football players at the end of the season?
I think so. Yeah, I think so.
Number 5 or something. He was way up there, and I was telling you how Antonio Brown's got that smile too. Like I could see like a couple of them getting together and doing something like that. It's
absolutely,
yeah. I mean, go with it. By the way, Barry is Australian, born in I don't know how you say this city's name, but in I guess the province of Victoria, Australia. Mm-hmm. So he is an Aussie.
There you go. And then the last one on the list, my personal favorite, the album I will be buying the second it hits stores. Debo Does Barry. James Harrison covers the smooth, velvety tunes of Barry White. Oh, baby, baby.
Man, I don't know. That sounds like a scary Barry White. And not just from you, but just the thought of James Harrison doing that. But I'm going to give you my pick. I only had one because I was thinking – I did this solely – I know nothing about this player. We just signed him. Niall Davis just has like that – it can be country or maybe blues. He has like such a cool name I could see like on a marquee or like an album, like,
I agree. Good blues name.
Yeah, yeah. Whatever on the tracks with Niall Davis, The Quiet Storm.
There you go.
So,
I love it.
Yeah. But speaking of names, I got some bonus ones here for you. I didn't share this part of the bullet list with you. I got 2. And this is right up there with the pet peeves, but I could never talk about it for a whole episode. So it's going here on the April Fool's one. Martavis Bryant changes his name to Martavius. So then everyone gets it correct from now on.
Yes. Thank you, Martavius.
And just the inside joke there, folks, is just if you listen close enough, even the NFL broadcasts, whether it's like NFL radio or during a game, TV, radio, whatever, they all say his name wrong. It would drive me crazy if I was Martavis. So just to appease them and to get it so it's correct from now on, he's just going to change his name to Martavius.
Well, there you go. Now we have another album too. Martavis Bryant covers whoever does that song, "What's My Name."
Well, here's the last April Fools. Tony Romo signs with CBS to be a broadcaster. Wait, that one actually isn't an April Fool's. That might actually happen.
That could happen.
This one isn't even. This is not fake news, folks. They are trying, CBS that is, to lure Tony Romo into retirement with a broadcasting job. Why? Just wait. He's going to get hurt, and then you might get him cheaper. Just kind of like the whole philosophy of maybe you could sign Darrelle Revis because the Jets are still paying him $6 million. So just let him go get traded somewhere. He'll get hurt in the preseason, and then you got him. Sounds good to me. Sure.
I think. Let me ask you this: do you think anybody really wants Tony Romo?
There's different levels of want. This goes with the, I mean, if you want, let's say you're the Denver Broncos, and I haven't been paying attention to their situation, whether or not, I don't know what's going on with Trevor Siemian and Paxton Lynch, but you have Paxton Lynch. I don't know if they're ready to roll with him yet. And Siemian was just a 7th-round guy who kind of managed. You still have a good defense, but your line, they signed some linemen too. I think they got a guard and a tackle from my memory. Here. So they're working on their line, but still, it's like, do you want to risk bringing in Tony Romo? And then you're still just going to have Paxton Lynch anyway if this guy gets hurt. So I'm looking at it from that type of viewpoint. Like, what team? I mean, he's most closely linked, I think, with the Houston Texans because the Texans just don't have anybody. They Brian Hoyer went out of there, and then they traded away Osweiler. They have Tom Savage, but I mean, how bad? Here's this middle round QB thing, and I don't want to get on the topic, but we're going to get on the topic. We've been talking about like how draft picks don't pan out. Oh, take a guy in the middle rounds. Well, okay, the Houston Texans take Tom Savage. Brock Osweiler, okay, you get Brock Osweiler from the Broncos. You sign him to this like just ridiculous big money deal. And then you bench him for Tom Savage. And then how bad do you have to be to lose your job back to Brock Osweiler? And I think there may have been an injury or something in there, but it was like Brock Osweiler ends up coming back in, and then they name Brock Osweiler starter. And, of course, he plays through the playoffs. So I don't think they're sold on Tom Savage being that guy either. And then they still have Brandon Whedon, who former first-round draft choice, I may add. And so Tony Romo there. And once again, do you like your other options? I mean, this is pretty much any team. You're not going to be loaded at the quarterback position. It's hard to get just one guy. But maybe Romo, he doesn't have to move very far, just, maybe 4 or 5 hours or whatever from Dallas to Houston. And he'll get to play in a dome. And he's still got, you got Lamar Miller on that team. You got DeAndre Hopkins and Will Fuller and Braxton, hey, one of the Buckeye guys, Braxton Miller's there.
Braxton Miller, yeah.
So, I mean, the talent's there, and, if you end up picking up Romo, it's a pick you don't have to burn on a QB, but this could be another one of these things where, I think this is going to be a draft day deal, to be completely honest, CBS or otherwise. I think...
I agree with you. I think it will be, but I got to tell you, I think it is the, I call myself a glass half full guy. This is somebody who doesn't ever see the glass as anything but full. You're going to take any effort on a quarterback who, when a stiff breeze blows on him, is going to be injured with a back spasm.
Yeah, and the funniest thing...
I can't see it.
The funniest thing, and it's not really funny making fun of someone getting hurt, but I think it's just more funny in the fact that you joke around that the guy could get hurt, and he still ended up, and he did. And this happened 2 years ago. He was hurt early in the season. I think it was, I'm going to get my 2 seasons mixed up here, but this was 2 years ago, and they play every Thanksgiving. And every so often for Thanksgiving, and we've been down 3 years out of like the last 5 or 6. Me and my wife, we fly to visit relatives in the Dallas area. So the game's on. It's a big deal. It's on anywhere and everywhere. And you're like, oh, they're playing the Panthers. And Tony Romo's to make his big return. And it was just a huge, Thanksgiving day. I don't know if it was the late afternoon or the late evening game, and they were making this big. He was making his big return, and I think it was the Panthers. It's regardless, one way or the other. It was Tony Romo's return. And he got hurt in like the first quarter. It was like the first drive or the second drive. He gets sacked, and then all of a sudden he's not getting up. And you're laughing and you feel sad for the guy at the same time. And then it's like, well, the Cowboys better do something. And of course, they took a chance on a guy who had a lot of red flags and some risks. And some people, they're going to defend it and say, oh, no, it wasn't risks or whatever. Look, anytime there's off-field trouble, these scouts, these front offices, they've got so much money invested in these different players. Any small red flag is going to make them move from guy A to guy B, who's squeaky clean, doesn't have anything on his rap sheet, so to speak. So, I mean, it's great for them that Dak Prescott worked out. I thought Dak Prescott fell pretty far in that draft. I mean, 4th round, I thought that was kind of crazy in and of itself. But Once again, Romo got hurt. And then Dak wasn't even the guy. A lot of people want to think, oh, they took Dak and Dak was the backup. No, Dak was a rookie who was going to be competing to be a third stringer with Kellen Moore. And Kellen Moore got hurt too. And then it was nothing but Dak. The cupboards were
exactly
bare. So I don't know, man. I think Romo, that could be a draft day type trade. I mean, if the quarterbacks aren't there, we don't know where these quarterbacks are going to go. We don't feel it's necessarily the deepest draft. And of course, you can read about that in the draft book. Ding! I had to get that back in.
There you go.
So myself and Brian co-authored that, by the way. So if you look it up, it's under either of our names. You can look it up under Pittsburgh Steelers, NFL Draft. I mean, there's slim pickings out there on the Kindle store right now. Not to encourage anyone else to do a lot of writing or reading of anything else. Just check out our book, of course. But, hey, it's out there. You could find it. And I hope if you do, leave us some feedback, leave us a review, and let us know if you liked it, because it's something we'd like to continue doing. We have a few ideas throughout the season as well. So besides that, hey, Brian, hey, good having you back, buddy.
Always a pleasure. It's nice to be back with Maverick.
Oh, there we go. We got the Top Gun references. This is kind of blasphemy. I didn't even watch Top Gun in its entirety, beginning to end, until like about a month ago. It's like one of those movies that's always on TV, and you catch bits and pieces of it, and it feels like you watched the whole thing. And I was like, you know what? I'm not sure I ever watched this beginning to end. And so I did. So I have like these bucket list movies that I go back, and of course, with the new Alien franchise coming out this summer, I've seen the Alien movies, but it's been ages. So I'm going to go and try and plow through those and watch the originals, because it has been like a decade or better since I've seen any of them. But hey, that's what I do in my spare time. So
this will tell you exactly how old I am. I saw Top Gun when it was released in the theater.
Oh wow. Yeah, not here. Not here. I wasn't old enough to get into a G movie by myself. So but
and the first Alien I also saw in the theater.
Oh man, I don't have a comment for you, Brian. I'm just gonna leave it there, because you know what I was telling you, as Eric always calls me an old man. It's like there's like that paradigm shift of, I think I'm in between the spectrum of Eric and Brian, and we won't try and figure out where some of the ladies are here at Steel City Underground. We'll say not a day over Sweet 16 is what I always say. So
they're lovely and young and vibrant.
And they will appreciate that, but if they were sitting right next to us, probably smack us upside the head at the same time. So all right, buddy, well, until next time, look forward to another one. And you never know, Brian or myself I might get brave enough to do one of these video deals, but if not, hey, you know what? I hope you enjoy listening to my voice. Until next time, folks, be safe, be good, and we will both catch you later.
We would like to thank you for listening and remind our listeners to follow us on social media and our website, www.steelcityunderground.com.